So, how's life been recently? We're just gonna start off with that. I want to catch up with you a little bit. You said
Yeah,
you are done at Passion. That's crazy.
yeah. Today was the last day, and so just focusing on the content creation side of things and really just trying to make more of an impact. It's challenging when you do it on the side.
Right. Yeah, that's what it sounded like when I was last talking to you. You're like, I'm back and forth between everything and just got a lot going. I can definitely relate to you in that area for sure. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's the
So,
newest and latest.
okay. So when you say like you want more time to focus on stuff, is that just your business, like the kids confidence stuff, or what are you thinking in that regard?
Yeah, it's basically like focusing on creating YouTube, podcast. So YouTube for the kids, podcast for the parents, and a lot of my like marketing is through social media. So creating educational content on Instagram, for example. So those are the things I mostly need to focus on is like creating more content that will reach more people,
Yeah, dude, that's
which
awesome. That is a lot. Like I already know, like we've been delving into the content side here too, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it can take up so much of your time. Like I'm so glad I have my editor to do all that
yeah,
stuff because I'm like overwhelmed. So yeah, totally get that.
absolutely. So and I was doing a lot of the editing myself for some time. So I would like get in front, so I'd like full-time job and then get in front of the camera. Well, not just that, but like script out everything. So you need to get into flow, right? And like you kind of, I have a hard time switching from one thing to the next. I kind of have to like sit down, let my thoughts start going, film, like create the script, get in the front of the camera, make sure I don't look so tired and right, filming, and that I think
Yeah,
that's the other thing is like filming really takes it's a performance, and you really
it
want to
is.
do it well the first time and not have to re-record or rewatch it and you're like, ugh, I hate it.
Yep, yep, exactly. It can be a pain in the butt for sure. I totally hear you on that. So you said you were editing all of your stuff. Is that like a past thing? You have someone else kind of doing that for you now?
Yeah, so I hired a video editor and he's doing great. And I basically was able to train him on like my style and everything, and he's doing pretty much exactly what I was doing, but better, right?
Nice.
So I'm really happy with that, and having a virtual assistant starting next week. So that way I can like,
Okay.
I'm tired of me being the reason why I'm moving so slow.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like there's kind of that awkward stage, especially in a small business, where you're like, okay, I need to upscale and get bigger, but I'm not really at a point like financially or mentally that I can do that. So that transition, I feel like, is one of the biggest steps you can take as a small business. And I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to transition. We'll see what this looks like.
Yeah, that's it's a funky, I don't know, it's just like you once you get past that, from what I've seen with a lot of creators, they skyrocket because they have a team, from what I've seen. They have help, um, and they've bought their time back so they can focus on the things that they've been designed on this planet to do, right? If someone's a really good administrative type of person, super organized, then they can use their superpower and help you there. Or someone's like really good at design, creatives, video editing, and all that, and that's like their thing. Like they're gonna shine, and then you can do what you're supposed to shine on too. And so
Exactly.
I think when people get that going and they have a system going, at least from a lot of the creators that came through Passion, they really succeed once they have the right marketing down, the right sales down. But it's hard because if you're the only one doing it, it's kind of slow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can see that for sure. Well, congrats on that transition. It sounds like you're taking a really big step for your business. I'm excited to see where you go with that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get back to the business in a second, but I'm going to ask you kind of an opening question. We're going to do this with all the guests on the podcast. And this question is, what experience in your life do you think you've learned from the most and why?
Mm, I think the biggest like learning experience,
Yes.
you told me to prepare this ahead of time.
Well, I didn't really give you that much time. So, we'll have a little bit of grace with you. It's okay.
I think the biggest thing is that you really do have a relationship with yourself. And before we start trying to work on relationships with others, like maybe you're shy or introverted and you want to be more outgoing and make more meaningful relationships, we can't even start there. I think the biggest learning for me is that you really have to do the inner work. Um, yeah, that relationship with yourself, because if the existing vocabulary inside of your own mind is like, I can't do it, or you're so stupid, like, what's wrong with you? Oh, why did I do that? But when we say those things to ourselves, I believe that that vocabulary will, because it exists in your mind, it will also accidentally come out when it comes to self-talk, but more importantly, how we treat others too. So many things of like the things that we want outside of us can't happen until we make it work for ourselves first.
That's really true. I totally get that. I feel like I've been going through a little bit of that this last year, like just kind of the cliche statement of like, I'm finding myself, right? But it really just embodies what you just said. Like, I have to find my own confidence, because if I'm constantly seeking that external validation and all of that, it's like I'm not actually gonna get anywhere, because everybody's gonna have different opinions. They're gonna be like, this is right, that's right. And then you come back to yourself and you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. So you can't really pursue anything, right? So that's kind of a little bit of a tangent of what you were saying, but I totally understand that and definitely agree.
No, it's that's where I started actually with like with all this coaching that I'm doing with the kids. It was me not knowing who I was. And that's a really weird thing. I was like 26, 27, and I was like, I don't think I really know who I am. And that's a very odd thing to realize after living with myself for 27 years.
Right.
I'm like, that's not supposed, that shouldn't be a thing, you know? And then because of that, I was like on a hunt of like, who am I? So self-discovery, learning more about myself. And then I got fascinated with like the way the mind works, the way the brain works, and how I've been holding myself back and all these different things. And then it was like, wow, this feels great that I was able to dissect and like, I'm not perfect, and I don't think anyone ever really can be. But I broke it down to basically like a strategy, a science, and it was just like, oh, this is what it is. This is what confidence is, and this is how we continue to build it. I wish I knew this as a kid. And for any, I think, parent that might be listening, it's like, I think all you really want is like the stuff that you went through. You just want that, you want to prevent the hardships, the hard things for your kids. My parents moved from Vietnam to the US because they were so poor. They wanted an opportunity and they wanted their kids to have a better life. And so I think that's really, I think it was just the same mentality. It's like, well, I can't really change my past and I wouldn't want to. I love the way it turned out,
Right.
but I can try to prevent other kids from going through the same troubles and hardships because they don't have to. And then I was like, well, maybe I can try to avoid reinventing the wheel. Sorry to just keep going on our tangent
No,
on this.
no, keep going. You're answering a lot of questions that I have already. So
Oh,
go for it.
yeah. And so it's, I've heard in business, it's smart to not reinvent the wheel, see what's working, and then like add your own spin to it. And I, I did my research and I really couldn't find what I was looking for, what I wanted to do, which was create something that is going to be fun and educational for the kids and easy for them to implement. Most of the things that I found were like maybe if there were books, they were usually more on the younger side of things that like maybe they're 3 or 4. I was like, no, I kind of like need some messaging that's a little bit more mature and slightly grown up ish for kids like who maybe as young as 5, 6, 7. Sometimes they don't want to be talked to like as Teletubbies. They want to be talked to like they're little adults, right? And they appreciate being talked to in a mature way. Um, but yeah, I only found like blogs and articles and like these things that were really boring. And to me, it's boring if I have to read it multiple times for me to get it. And also, if it's that challenging for me, then what about the kids? And then what about parents who are just not like teachers, you know, because teaching is a skill, and to look at something and be able to teach it, it's not that easy. It's one thing to get it, but another thing to be able to teach it. And so I was like, you know what? I can't find anything like this, but it needs to get out there. And I felt like if I walked away from creating something, I would probably feel guilty. Like now it felt like a duty that since it's not there and I know I can do it, yeah, I would feel guilty for not creating this. And so it's been a bit of a rocky, because creating something out of nothing has been very challenging. And if I'm being honest, I think I'm still like figuring it out.
I think that's a huge part of the business journey though, right? Like, and even for myself, like the fitness industry is huge, but for each person, like when you start to niche down and really find like what you're passionate about and what you want to bring to people, like in a sense you are creating it from scratch because it's your own content, right? Like it's not somebody else that's telling you what to do or how to do it, right? So that navigating, I think, is something you kind of figure out for a lot of your journey. Like you just don't know exactly where you're going, but you kind of know where you want to be, right? So
Yeah.
that's super awesome. I love that.
Yeah. And I think, but that's it, but it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Absolutely.
we can always look at it two different ways. It could be like one perspective is like, oh, it's so hard, you know, I mean, there's truth to that. And I think the lens to look through is how beautiful is it that I get to do this, that I get to serve other people, and that I get to create, and I get to surrender, because you, when you have to create, sometimes it's like you don't know what's the outcome, and you have to surrender to the outcome so many times, and you're like, I don't know if it's going to go well or if it's going to go bad, and it's just like you have this opportunity over and over again to like learn so much, because you're always trying things that you don't know what the outcome is going to be like. And I think it's great to do if you are in the coaching space, because then I think it helps us reconnect with who we are coaching. Because if we can't walk through the fire, if we don't run into anxiety and then push through it and come out on top, it's really hard to teach somebody else to do that. I've always found that if you struggle through your own different levels of things, then you can always connect with whoever you're coaching to walk through that in their own movie. Yeah, it's just, I think it's so beautiful that we get to be in this space.
It is for sure. And especially with the confidence aspect, which we're both a part of, right? Just different focused people that we're trying to target. But with that, like in a sense, you yourself are pushing yourself to be confident, right? Because sometimes it's something that you have to choose every single day. And so going through these things, like these obstacles, right? And like you said, pushing through that anxiety and coming out on top, like that's going to make you more confident going through those things to add to your portfolio of experiences, right? And so it's so cool that in the coaching process of helping other people become more confident, we ourselves are making ourselves more confident, right? Like we're kind of growing in that, and we're just maybe like a step or two ahead or a couple steps ahead. But I think that's super awesome that it's like, yeah, like I'm going through this myself and I really want to help you do this. And that's where you find that passion.
Mm-hmm. Do you know there's a medical term for this?
I did not, but maybe if I heard it, I would know it.
So in the medical field, they call this the protege effect.
Okay.
Where basically, and I think and others call it do one, teach one. I forgot. It was too long for me. But anyways, the way I call it is you teach, you learn twice. Every time that you're teaching someone, whether it's like the actual movements or pushing them through their like that mental like, oh, I want to give up. No, I'm going to push myself, right? And you're teaching them how to do it. It's like you're reinforcing and just having to break that down. Because I think sometimes in our position, if we've done something so many times over and over and over again, it becomes so intuitive. And then when you have to teach it, it's like, oh, right, how did I break this down for myself? I didn't even have to break it down that much, but I need to break it down even further for this person. And I think just the practice of that, it creates these new neural pathways in your brain. You're like, and you understand it better. And you're like, wow, I feel like I just taught myself. Have you
Because you
experienced
have a
that?
better understanding of the process, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that phrase, the best way to learn is to teach, right? It kind of goes hand in
Okay.
hand with that. Yeah.
That's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, I
pretty
wanted to
much.
point that out.
No, that's awesome. I was not aware of that, but that's super cool. I'll keep that in mind because I feel like it'll be on the topic a lot these days.
Oh, if I can add one more thing to that. So because I used to do martial arts and then teach martial arts. And so Sifu in Chinese is a word for teacher father, which is equivalent to like sensei or master. And so one of the things that I learned from my Sifu was that if you really want to excel at something, you have to be a student, right? If you really want to learn, you have to be a student. But if you want to master something, then you have to teach it. So you don't master it and then become a teacher. You become a teacher in order to master it.
That's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about it that way. That makes a lot of sense, though. Because I feel like, yeah, kind of going back to what you're saying about that awareness, right? Like, we kind of just go through the process and we're like, okay, yeah, like I know what I'm doing. But then when you actually have to reflect, it's like, but I don't actually know what I did. And so breaking it down to really understand it, that makes sense how that would, get you to that mastery point. I like that.
Have
What
you
was the word again that you said? The
um
Sifu? Is
Sifu?
that what it's
Yes.
called? Yeah, Sifu. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Sorry, what were you going to say? I cut you off.
It was I was gonna say, have you ever? It'll probably come back to me. This is why I teach kids. I'm like I got like ADHD and I can't remember stuff.
No, I am the same way. That's why I have notes in front of me because otherwise my brain just goes poop and I don't know what I was saying. Anyways, so speaking of notes,
Can you restart saying that one time?
yeah, sorry, my dryer is super loud and it was going off, so I'm gonna have to repeat that. But speaking of notes, my question for you, kind of drawing us back to the whole kids confidence thing, sort of a double question here, but going back to what you were saying about you learning about yourself, right? And then going on this journey of self-discovery, is that kind of what pushed you into doing what you're doing? And at what point did you kind of figure out like, yeah, I want to teach kids how to be confident?
I think it was just like I'll give you a quick little story. When I took this one summer school class in high school and it was on biology. I don't remember it was because I did terrible in it or I just wanted extra credits, but I remember that I actually enjoyed learning science for like the first time ever. And it wasn't because it was biology, it was because of who was teaching it. And when I became an instructor teaching martial arts too, I experienced it again. It wasn't like when people would quit martial arts, I looked at it as a beginner teacher, they weren't really enjoying my teaching, not so much the martial art, but my teaching. And it was true because the more experience I got, the more my students actually stayed with me. Um, so I think that when it comes to like teaching confidence, I think a big thing is that kids have to enjoy learning. I've here's what I found that when kids are having fun, they're going to pay attention. If they don't pay attention, it doesn't matter how amazing the lesson is going to change their life. It's going to go over their head. They're not interested. But if they're having fun, they're paying attention. If they're paying attention, they're going to learn. If they're learning, they're going to be learning what to implement. And if they're implementing, they're building skills. Those skills will build their competence, and that competence in the end builds their confidence. So it's like a butterfly effect. If you don't have this foundation down, then the kids will not, we won't even get the kids to where we want them to go. So I'm forgetting what your original question was now, but yes.
The question was essentially what I was asking you. I didn't phrase it this way, but basically what pushed you into becoming a kid's confidence coach, like through your own experience with this self-discovery. Was that kind of a starting point, or where did that come from?
Oh, you know what? It was I started teaching like in 2011, and then I stopped teaching what in 2020, shoot, sometime 2018 maybe. I don't know. But I'd say the last 2 years, something just it changed. Like I would always hear the same story. Oh, I'm bringing my kid in because they're getting bullied. Oh, I'm bringing my kid in because someone said XYZ to them. And I've heard this so many times. But then all of a sudden, I think in the last 2 years of my teaching, it was like it started to break my heart. It was pulling my heartstrings. I was like, what's going on here? This is not the first time I've heard these exact same words. Why is it really hurting me all of a sudden? You know, and I think it's because I started to really fall in love with teaching kids. And I started to be inspired by kids. You know, it's like you don't really need to do that much. You don't need to do any fancy stuff. They will have fun, and they just want to have fun with you. And in my eyes, like kids have this light inside of them that I find really inspiring, and it makes me reflect and go, am I enjoying life as much as you are? Like, is it just a matter of your perspective is different from mine? And so how can I be more childlike and just enjoy the simple things, enjoy the small little things, laugh at the smallest things? And I think because I started to experience that more and more with kids and be inspired more and more by kids, I think the result came from then when I started to hear, oh I want to bring my kid into martial arts because they got bullied. And I think that's why it's just like, it would break my heart because now the light that was existing in that kid is becoming dimmed down because of some external experience. And after some time, I think I felt a little bit of like, I don't want to teach you how to swing a sword or punch or kick. You really need to change the way you talk to yourself. You really need to change your mindset. I want to teach you what a growth mindset is. And so I was like, you know what? I think I need to create videos about these. And so that's kind of how I got started with Rebel Ninja, is that I had to figure out, how do I teach this? If the pandemic never happened and you told me like, oh, you can teach this kind of stuff to kids through videos, I would have been like, yeah, right. They can barely pay attention right in front of my face, you know?
Facts.
And then when the pandemic happened and I started teaching, like kids wanted to keep going to class, but they couldn't. So we did it on Zoom. I was like, this is not going to work. And so I started teaching classes on Zoom and they were following along. I was like, whoa, okay. And then because of that, then it planted the idea in my head, like, what if they were pre-recorded? Because those also worked. We did some pre-recorded martial art classes. I was like, what if I did that more on mindset, growth mindset, self-talk, self-image, and add some gifts and sound effects, and that's how I kind of got started.
That's awesome. I love that story.
Long story.
Like I love the way that you think about things, like the psychological part of your mind, is just really digging in depth to everything and just wanting to understand it more. Like honestly, I feel like we need more people like you, because we would have more teachers out there, right? We'd have more people with the compassion and the heart for not just kids, but people in general. So that's super awesome. I really love that. So talk to me a little bit more about the Rebel Ninja, like about the program. What is it? Like, what do you do specifically? How is it run? What would you tell any kids or parents that are on this podcast listening?
I would say, I will start with what I wouldn't want to say, or how we definitely don't want to word things around kids, is that, oh, I'm going to make you more confident. Only because I just wanted to start with that, because in my experience, when we talk about building confidence with kids, they automatically assume, so I don't have it. So something's missing. So the way that I like to approach it is like, there's nothing broken about you. There's nothing missing about you. It's impossible. There's nothing wrong with you. And that's the truth. And you have to see that truth. And so the only thing we're doing here is we're just building. We're not fixing anything. We're just building on top of who you already are. And all we're doing here is just becoming a better version of ourselves. So, and that could mean a lot of different things, and everybody can work on it in different ways. And so that's usually how I phrase it for the kids.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good way to think about it for sure. I can see where that would impact them. Definitely. So talk to me about, sorry, I kind of loaded a bunch of questions on you at the start, but
Oh, so good.
if we were to walk someone through this program, like a kid comes into your program or a parent brings their kid to the program, what does that process look like? Like they're coming in, what are they typically coming in for? Like why? And then kind of walk me through that journey.
Yeah, I would say like under the umbrella of confidence and self-esteem, I've seen like different categories. I think the most dire ones are when kids have already signed up for therapy and it doesn't work. I have a kid who the mom inquired about my coaching programs and then decided to go with therapy, which is totally fine. She messaged me a little bit longer than a year later. And she's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but my son still needs help. He's tried out therapy and we haven't seen progress." So I scroll up our chats and what the kid was saying was that he didn't want to exist anymore. So right away I was like, "How is he doing with that right now?" And she said, "He's made no progress." I sent her like my booking calendar. We got into a call, and what I found is that, and I'll get back to your question, but it's like what I found is sometimes with therapy, kids feel like they're meeting some kind of shrink or principal or counselor, and then they reflect like, am I here because something's wrong with me? And then it's also like they have to get along with their therapist and they have to like connect well with that therapist. And so that's one, is that they've already tried to seek therapy because there's a lack of not just confidence, but a bigger one is their self-esteem, how they see themselves, what's their identity in their own mind, right? It's a distorted self-image is what they have. They don't have the truth. They have some different lie about themselves where they don't feel like they're enough. And then other topics are like they're getting bullied and that affects their self-image. So being bullied, and sometimes it's not physical. In fact, I think physical bullying is easier to heal from. Verbal bullying is a lot harder to heal from. Physical scars, if somebody pushes a kid and scratches their knee, that's going to heal really fast. But verbal bullying, someone calling you outside of your identity, outside of your image, and they call you ugly, or they say, "Why is your hair?" And it's a true story. It's like the only Puerto Rican girl in the class, and someone's like, "Why is your hair so curly?" And then she wants to hide her hair when mom's doing her hair in the morning, and she's like, I don't want my hair to be done. I want it to be up." And she's like, "Why?" She's like, "My hair is ugly." She, "Where did you hear that from?" Right? Someone said that to me. And so it's like, if that wasn't caught, what if that girl never really explained why? And then she would have grown up for several years never loving her hair, right? And that's just one thing. It's just like the way you look. Maybe you have a different skin color, or you just, for any reason that you are different at all, you can get picked on because someone else who is insecure, they'll try to push someone down, push their self-image down, so then they can elevate themselves up. Doesn't really work, but it's really common. So I get that. So I get kids who have a low self-esteem, kids who have been bullied. I get kids who just overall have like negative self-talk. They have a fixed mindset. And so sometimes parents don't really know how to dissect what it is. But it's like, my kid's confident, but when it comes to trying hard things, they don't believe in themselves, or they don't want to try the next challenge, or they don't want to do this thing over here, and things like this. And those are the most common things. There's fixed mindset. So that comes with like fear of failure, fear of trying new things, fear of making a mistake. And then there's also, so like fear, like based on outcomes. And then there's self-esteem based on like verbal bullying. So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I have definitely seen a little bit of that, like just in myself, thinking of my own story, but seeing some of those perspectives, from a classroom or from martial arts, like there's so many reasons, like you're saying, especially as kids, they're so just blunt, right? Like they'll just call it as they see it. And so like you're saying, if something's just minutely different, like you're getting called out on that. And it's like, well, why did they say that? Like then there's this fear surrounding it. So that's really crazy. So talk to me about, so you have a kid that comes to you with that. what does your process look like for helping them walk out of that?
Yeah. And so the process for the kid, I think really is just the same that we would approach it as adults. We just have to make it easy to understand for the kid. But it is starting with your relationship with yourself. And so like I'll give you an example of like one of the kids from yesterday. He came to me because beautiful soul. Parents know just how beautiful soul he is, how outgoing he can be at home. But when it comes to talking to new people, and it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, I don't really get it. At home, he's really outgoing, really talkative, can't get him to stop talking. Beautiful person. And around family members, he's good. And then he has friends. He has friends. But when we go to the park or we go somewhere new and meeting new people, he hides behind me. And I'm like, say hi. And he won't. And the reason is in his social anxiety. So how do we tackle social anxiety? I could just teach the kid like, oh, there's a compliment challenge, there's the best friend challenge and all these things. But in the end, he might just say, well, that's not me. I don't walk up to people. I don't talk to people. That's not who I am. So I can try and teach him all these different strategies and tactics, but he would just be his own worst enemy, talk himself out of it, saying that's just not what I do. I don't think I can do it. So the very first thing that I always talk about is what is your identity? Who are you? What are your strengths? And what are some of the things that you can work on? And let's normalize that. It's okay for you to not be perfect. And compare yourself. I normalize comparing yourself. I wouldn't teach something I don't know how to do. I can't hop onto Instagram, look at someone's six pack and go like, I don't see the difference between you and me. No, I see the difference.
Right.
And so it's like, there is a bad way and a good way to compare yourself. The bad way is to think that some people are more of a person or less of a person. The right way to compare yourself is to know that there is no one better than you, and you're not better than anybody else as a person. But if someone's better than you at something, how cool is that another human being can do that? That's inspiration. We're all born to be good at different things, like superheroes. Like, who's the best superhero? Your friend might say this person, you might say that person, someone else might say that person. Those are all their opinions, but what's the truth? So, okay, there's truth versus opinions. Opinions, everyone's got it. Everyone can have an opinion about yourself, which is fine. But whose opinion matters most is your opinion of yourself. But okay, now truth and opinions. What's your truth? What is the truth? Well, everybody is different. And when we work together, we're like the Avengers, right? We have to be different. So when we see people who are better than us at certain things, or we're better than them at certain things, how wonderful, right? It's just look at what other humans can do and know that why not you? But not so you can be better than them, but you can be a better version of yourself. Comparing yourself so you can see what is possible. So your identity is really important. That's what we work on. And then the second thing is your mindset, like getting rid of a fixed mindset. Yeah, there's like the myth. I tell the kids, like, it's a lie. If you believe that you're born a certain way, you're wrong. You can do anything you want. You can accomplish anything you want. It just takes hard work. And sometimes for kids, that's like really freeing. You're like, wait, I can be whoever I want? You mean I'm not bad at math forever? Right? And it's like, it's freeing. So I think for kids, the first thing they have to do is know who they are and then have a growth mindset. So we eliminate all the reasons why they stop themselves from becoming a better version of themselves. Then we can teach them strategies and techniques on how to walk up to people and be more charismatic, bring their vibe, be authentic, how to handle tough situations when people are challenging your boundaries. How do you be assertive? And then how do you do that when they're your best friends and you don't know how to say it to them without hurting their feelings? But you also don't want to be lonely and lose your friends. So it's like communication skills and these things, leadership skills, but none of that really, I don't think it's going to be effective if they battle themselves. And I see that so much with adults. I'll just say this. When I was working at Passion and I was like, my job was to onboard all these different creators, almost like, I would say like over 90% of the creators as adults who were coaches would still tell me, I don't think I can charge this much. I don't think I'm worth that much, or I don't know if I could succeed in this business. And I'm just like, come on. And whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. But it starts from childhood.
Absolutely. I love that process. Like, seriously, I think you are helping raise a generation of super powerful adults in the next couple decades. Like, that's awesome. I think what I love about that most is that you are just helping catch so many things that you see in the adult generation early, right? Like, you're nipping it in the bud. And that would have been huge for me in my experience of going through high school and like that awkward stage between 12 to 20, basically, like this 8-year span. And it's really affected who I am as an adult. And I've had to go through that process myself. So I really love that you're just helping kids do that and like just empower them. Like, that's so amazing. I know we're running a little bit short on time. I think we got to close this out for your sake. But my last question for you is, what do you think that you have learned about yourself throughout this process?
Can I talk about my faith?
You can, yes, absolutely.
I think that it wasn't so much what I learned about me. I think throughout this whole process is what I learned about Jesus. Because every single time I was worried, where's the money going to come from? Where the client's going to come from? What do I do now? I'm so stressed out. What's the next step for me? God always provided. And I kind of caught myself. I was in the cycle of like asking for this blessing, asking for that blessing, asking for that blessing. And I was just like, hold on a second. I keep asking for these things. Eventually at the right time they come. And in the Bible, it says that it was Jeremiah 29:11 that the Lord has plans for you that are good and not evil. So I stopped asking for blessings and I started asking God to make me competent and prepare me for what's to come. And I think if we ask for blessings, this is what I learned. And I think if we ask for blessings, we automatically assume they were not going to come. Yeah. So if I already assume they are going to come and there's zero doubt in my body about it, all I want to do is make sure I don't get in the way and that my fears don't get in the way or my doubts get in the way or, yeah. So that's what I learned is God's got it all planned out. And I really just have to just serve.
Definitely. I really feel like you were supposed to say that piece. I think you're speaking to me directly because I'm definitely at that point in my business. I was telling a couple people recently, like, it's at the spot where I feel like I have to trust God with the process, right? Like, and I told my grandma a couple weeks ago, like, he's just going to provide. Like, it takes so much stress out of your life, but it is so hard to follow through with that sometimes. Like, man, like I just want to take it into my own hands and do something or just give up, right? And I'm like, what a lack of faith. Like you said, ask for the blessing, and then the Bible talks about too, if you believe that you're going to receive it, like you will, and ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, and knock and it will be open unto you. Like, those are promises, right? Mm-hmm. And in Hebrews, it talks about like if we're asking for wisdom, and then God's going to give it to us liberally. And so asking for wisdom in my business and how to move forward, like all of that, it's like he's just going to give it to you. Like, just believe that, right? And even if you don't ask for it, he'll give it to you, but it just keeps that communication open and helps your heart trust him a little bit more. So I really love that last piece. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I appreciate you hopping on this podcast today, and we look forward to hopefully chatting again in the future, see where we're both at business-wise. But I definitely gained a lot from this conversation, and thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. That was my main goal, is to add as much value as I could.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely did that. So
awesome.
Good luck with your business ventures and quitting passion. I wish you the best of luck, and we'll touch base soon.
Yes, sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Sounds good, Andrew. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.